The content of this module has been developed to guide planning as well as conversations with your team about hazards, ideally before you depart for your field campaign. How often have you thought about potential hazards that you and your field team might encounter during field work? Have you ever thought, that was a close call? If so, this was probably the result of exposure to environmental and social hazards in field environments. Let's start by making a quick distinction between two related concepts, hazard and risk. Hazard is a potential source of harm, while risk is the likelihood and severity of harm due to exposure to the hazard. Here's a simple example. Lightning, a hazard, produces risk depending on decisions and behavior that lead to lightning strike exposure. The risk increases more by continuing to work in an open meadow than if you seek shelter until the storm passes. Field scientists may experience a wide variety of risks during field work. Personal risks can come from one's physical environment or from other humans and can include bodily injury, emotional, or mental stress. Social risks range from bullying and microaggressions to sexual harassment, and injuries can include minor ones like blisters or sprains, or more serious ones that could even lead to death. Hazards and risks look different depending on the type of field work that you or your field team are taking part in. For example, consider these scenarios. A researcher working from the edge of a small ocean vessel without a life jacket. A group of scientists transfixed by a polar bear approaching the research vessel without a mechanism to scare or prevent the bear from approaching. A graduate student camping with more senior researchers in a remote field environment and required to work long days and carry heavy loads. A group including female identifying scientists without toileting facilities or privacy screening in an open environment. All of these events pose a hazard and they result in risk. Safety and incident prevention requires deliberate thought and assessment of hazards in field environments, especially when the exposure to the hazard, and thus the risk, is constantly evolving. Throughout this module, you will learn how to develop risk reduction methods for potential hazards that you and your team could encounter during field work. In this module, we'll learn 1. To differentiate between objective and subjective hazards. 2. To explain why incidents often happen at the intersection of objective and subjective hazards. 3. To recognize actual likely risks as compared to commonly perceived risks in field environments. 4. To utilize decision-making tools in the presence of risk. In this next lesson, we'll dive in with subjective and objective hazards.